And a very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us on 360 Sports on Trust Television. Of course, this is where we talk about sports, all of the performance from yesterday, and of course, what we're looking forward for today. We'll discuss it today on 360 Sports. Welcome again. My name is Martia Umar. I'm being joined by our analyst today. Good morning, Yusuf Akou.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good to be here talking about sport, of course. It's never boring stories when you talk about sports.
Absolutely.
The stories keep coming, even when you want them to stop. It just keeps coming.
Absolutely. Sport is one of the unifying factors around the world. So talking sports, I mean, is something that's very interesting that we like to do almost all the time. Especially most of us that like to follow football, especially. So we love football, basketball. I mean, very unique sport that's, transforming the world.
And one thing that catches my attention, or kind of very fascinating for me, is the fact that, everybody has different ways of analyzing different sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, sports are different. You have football, you have basketball, you have table tennis, you have long tennis, and so many others. So the means of analyzing them are actually not the same. You understand? So it depends on your interests. Like some of us that are interested in football, basketball, and then maybe a couple of other sports. So we have a way of, enjoying them and then add that into the analysis.
Exactly. So we'll look forward to you joining the conversation via our social media platforms as well. But let's get into the topic and activities that we'll be looking at today. The National Sport Festival is on the way. A lot of states are preparing for the National Sports Festival, and we have the likes of Cross River State. They're saying that 400-man contingent will be representing Cross River at the 2022 National Sport Festival, which will be happening in Delta State. And the chairman of the Cross River State Sports Commission, Emmanuel Elom, reviewed this in Calabar. He said that it's better prepared, it's preparing better than the last time, and they're not bringing machines into the National Sport Festival that will be happening from November to December this year. He said that he will participate, the state rather, will participate in 16 sports at the fiesta, but would concentrate on those which are of comparative advantage. What do you say to that? 400, is that not too much?
Well, if you look at the numbers, I think it's a little bit on the high side when you look at a state like Cross River State that has not really been doing well when it comes to National Sports Festival. Not a state like Delta that produced some of the prominent athletes from that competition. So I think it's too much. Maybe they're looking at their options. If we don't do well in this, we should be able to do well in this. I understand that some new sports will be introduced at this next sport festival. Maybe that is why we're actually seeing the increase in numbers of athletes that are coming to that are going for the next year National Sports Festival in Delta State. And surprisingly, Delta, the host country, they are very good at this tournament. They have done so well in the past, and I think it's also home advantage is going to be also an opportunity for them to continue their dominance in the festival as well.
Now, looking at these numbers now, Delta State will be packed with a lot of sporting men and women in later this month. I think it's starting on the 28th and then to December. Normally, it's just 2 to 3 weeks sporting activities. And then you have a state like Cross River bringing in 400 men. And then let's talk about Kogi. Kogi brings in 400 or 300. And then would we have problem of, accommodation, so to speak, and, logistics problem?
Yeah, that is inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to be like a carnival of sorts for them in Delta State. So there's going to be an issue of logistic problem. But I said, the Delta State government will have to prepare ahead for this. They know that 35 states plus the Federal Capital Territory are actually coming down to their shores. So it's going to be quite a whole lot of them. They need to put a lot of facilities in place. All the hotels, the training facilities that need to be in place need to be put in place properly. Exactly. And then the transportation network, should also be taken care of so that the athletes that are coming in will actually feel and see the beauty of Delta Asaban, and then other parts of Delta State, Warri, and the rest of them. So I think the Delta State government, I think they should be alive to that responsibility. They are sporting, a well-known sporting state. So I think the governor, Senator Okowa, will be actually, alive to that responsibility and put in the necessary works for them to be able to, host this competition successfully. And hosting this competition at the same time that the World Cup is also going on, maybe there's going to be maybe a lot of distraction as well. But then it is what it is. So we cannot change our own timing because of the World Cup anyway.
Looking at the 400-man squad, it's kind of sending chills to a lot of people because, Calabar is known for hosting a lot of people when it comes to carnival. I don't think it's same for Delta State, but let's see what will happen. We're looking forward to a lot of states bringing in their best athletes to compete in the National Sports Festival that will be taking place later this month till the month of December 2022. But away from the National Sports Festival, it was a day to make a difference for the Biola Queens as they were in action, and it was a win for Biola Queens as they beat TB Mazembe to keep semi-final qualification hopes alive. And the Biola Queens recorded their first ever win at the CAF Women's Champions League after defeating Democratic Republic of Congo's Mazembe. And heading into the game, Biola Queens lost 2-1 to defending champions Mamelodi Sundowns in the group opener. And up next for Biola Queens is a game against
Wadi Degla?
Eastern, when you talk about Eastern Africa, their style of football is kind of different. When you take a look at their league and, all of the actions they bring into play when they're on the pitch, it's kind of different. Do they stand a chance against Wydad Degla?
Yeah, when you look at Nigeria, female football in Nigeria, I think we're ahead of the rest of Africa. It's just that in recent times, we've seen improvement from South Africa and then the North Africans as well. But kudos to the Biola Queens, the Prosperity Girls, as they are usually known. It's a very good one for them. Getting that good result yesterday against TP Mazembe. TP Mazembe, they have a very strong male football team. Then coming up with another female football team, I think it's a very good one for them, getting that very good result after the initial, lost their first game against the Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa, who are the defending champion of this tournament. So it's a very good one for them, and I think getting the result against Wadi Degla shouldn't be difficult for them, considering the fact that that same team lost 5-0 to the defending champion, that is the South African Mamelodi Sundowns yesterday. So I think that should be like a morale booster for the Nigerian girls to go all out and then get the needed result and then progress to the semi-finals of the competition. Exactly.
That's what we're wishing them. A very good luck. We'll be praying for them and we'll be supporting them and giving them the right kind of coverage. And talking about them, moral support is very, very important. Absolutely. Not forgetting financial support as well for them to do well in the CAF Champions League, the Women's CAF Champions League. But let's move away from some of the round-letter games. Of course, handball is a round-letter games, but it was the closing of the Prudent Energy Premier League. It came to a halt in Lagos as Unbeaten Kano Pillars and Safety Babes retain titles. They get equal pay in the Prudent Energy Handball Premier League in Lagos. So Biola Queens actually did very, very well. The Safety Babes, so to speak, they did very well in the Premier League handball games in Lagos. We saw Unbeaten Kano Pillars. Kano Pillars from the start of this season, since season 5 of the Prudent Energy handball game, never lost a match. I think the last match was a draw. So we'll take a look at the table. The last match that was played at the men's category, the handball, which gave Kano Pillars the edge to be the winner of the Handball Premier League competition in Lagos. And the last day of the games, we saw the defenders and the Confluence Stars in action. It was 29-28 points in favor of the defenders. And Benue Buffaloes couldn't match up to the strength of Police Machines as they picked up 25 points as against 28 points for the police machine. So when the Kings were in action with Toja Marine Academy, it was 32-33. It was a draw. And then Nigeria United, of course, which have been doing very, very well in the handball game so far in Lagos, and 33-34 against Rima Strikers. And Kano Pillars and Safety Shooters, which of course are first and second, actually was a draw yesterday, 21-21. It was a show of power, but it just seemed that the best played won the cup yesterday. And for the women's category, we saw also Rima Queens versus Bendon Dynamos. It was 31-29 in favor of Rima Queens, which they picked 31 points. Safety Babes and the Defenders Babes also were in action, and it was 22-25 in favor of Defender Babes, who picked up 25 points. So in the women's category, Safety Babes retained their title, and against Defender Babes finished second actually, while debutant Rima Queens, this is the first time they are participating in this tournament, and it was a good one for them as they clinched the third trophy. Yeah, I think there's a trophy for the third team.
Piece, maybe.
Yes, okay. So the handball was something that we followed keenly because we are trying to diversify our sports in Nigeria, and handball has been 50 years in the country. Now, following the Prudent Energy Premier League, which started at some point Abuja hosted, and then it moved to Lagos, which is the second phase of the Prudent Energy Handball Premier League. Now, how would you rate the performance of all of the teams that participated in this Premier League in Lagos?
Yeah, I think the team, they gave a good account of themselves very well. All of them did very well at different stages of the competition. One thing that I think we need to do to the handball, handball in Nigeria, I think they need more of, publicity. A lot of people don't know about handball. Many people are interested in football, basketball, maybe some other sport. But handball, I think we need to give it a whole lot of publicity, give it more attention, give it more, promotion and all of that. So, but when you talk about the Kano Pillars, Kano Pillars has become one of the, a club I will refer to in Nigeria as maybe one of the biggest club with almost all development almost across all sports. Because if you look at them, the football team is a very, very strong team. They have been there for a very, very long time. They are it's a club to reckon with in NPFL.
Exactly.
Then if you come to the basketball, you also have Kano Pillars that have fantastic players that have played here, and many of them are also playing in NBA right now. So Kano Pillars has also been there, and seeing them what they are doing in the handball competition is also very, very good. That I think other clubs in Nigeria will need to emulate. I think there should be a whole lot of investment. How is Kano Pillars? How are they doing it? Is it a state government funding? What do you think? What do we need to do? For example, in Kogi State, in those days, we used to have clubs like Kogi Teachers, Kogi United, and all of that. Where are those clubs? I think there's a whole lot of things that I think Kano Pillars are doing right that the rest of the clubs in Nigeria need to actually learn from.
Oh, we look forward to them doing better. The first three in each of the categories, that's the male and female categories, will represent Nigeria in the African Club Handball competitions slated for later this year. So we wish them all the best as they will be showing power as well in that competition. This time it is a continental showcase, not just in Nigeria. I think this is why we organize competitions like this, to know the best teams in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
And then we just take them, propel them to the African showpiece, and then from there we just make them hit the world. And
it's good to get your best foot forward to represent you and probably bring you trophies. So when you're competing with the rest of the world or the rest of Africans, you can't afford not to go with your best. So with what we've seen in this competition, I think this competition has actually shown that the best has shown the best that we have in the country. And then those three best teams are actually going out to represent Nigeria. In this case, we have Kano Pillars is there, we have the Safety Babes, and then the other one actually going ahead to actually represent us on the continent. So I think it's a very good one for them, and I hope that they'll actually give account of themselves and represent the country very well.
And it's kind of very interesting. You know how handball is, it's just like volleyball. You can score as many points as possible, you want, yes. And even basketball. Yeah. At some point, we see basketball games getting into 116 points, 150 points and all that. Yeah. But this contest, the Premier League handball in Lagos, from what we've monitored from the beginning of the games till the last, we've seen a lot of clubs not conceding so many points. We've seen, I think the difference is sometimes it's not up to 2 points or 3 points. I think the highest we've seen so far was like 10 points, which it was really rare. So you could see that the competition was really tight. A lot of teams came there to win laurels. But at the end of the day, you see that, you know, the best man will always win.
Yeah, certainly. That's actually showing you the development of the handball sport in Nigeria. You see almost every state is trying to, you know, coming up with their best to see what they can actually achieve for their various states. I think that's what we saw in Lagos. But when you're coming to a competition like this, it will also reflect in the overall preparation that you have had across all your your sporting events that you participate in. That is why we are seeing Kano Pillars actually doing very well in almost all the sports. So I'm not surprised that they actually came up top.
All right, so let's move away from handball. Let's take a look at another tournament that is coming up very, very soon in Africa. We're talking about the Under-20 African Cup of Nations. 8 countries have qualified for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, and we're looking forward to see all of the countries come together and see the actions, the thrillers from these games. We have all of the 8 countries that have qualified. We have countries like Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, Nigeria, Benin, Senegal, Gambia, and Mozambique. This is actually from different regions. We have people like Nigeria and Benin from the West African region, and then we have from the Eastern African region, and also from the Southern African region. You know, it's just they have more sports to be occupied, but so far these are the countries that have qualified. So what countries are you actually expecting to add up to this Under-20 African Cup of Nations?
Yeah, if you look at the Under-20 African Cup of Nations, I think it started in the 80s, around 1981 or thereabouts. Nigeria were the maiden winner of that competition. I think we're the most successful team.
Exactly.
We've won it 7 times, followed by Ghana.
2015 was our last.
Yes. Ghana won the last edition. Surprisingly, Ghana, they are not here this time around. So I think it's going to be a very tough one. But considering the fact that if you look at it, you have like about 4 countries from West Africa. You have the Senegal, Nigeria, Benin Republic, the Gambia. These are 4 countries from West Africa, 3 from the North Africans. Then you have Mozambique from Southern Africa. So it's going to be a very tough one it's going to be an interesting tournament anyway. Because if you look at it now, Nigeria wouldn't find it difficult this time, considering the fact that last time we won it was 2015. But again, we are the most successful team in the competition, so nobody is going to underestimate Nigeria. You know, when it comes to age grade football, we've done so well in Africa, international, and even globally. For example, at the under-17 level, we are the best in the world. We've won about 5 titles. You know, so I think this one is going to be another tournament that we're going to see different talent from Africa. We see many of them from this competition going on to become the world beaters. You understand? So I think we're going to see something like that in this competition as well.
So now in football, they always say, expect the unexpected. And the under-20 team not really doing bad, you know, and then you get it into a competition like this, and you know, you let complacency set in, just like you said, you know, we've been the most successful. We said that during the African Cup of Nations for the Super Eagles, and see what happened in the last African Cup of Nations. So it was 3rd position for Nigeria, but that's not good enough for a footballing nation who puts football as a priority. Do you think that's what's going to happen with the under-20 boards?
Yeah, well, you know, in Africa, football in Africa has developed to a certain level, so nobody is a pushover anymore. There's no more minors, like we used to say in those days. So if you look at it now, you cannot rule out a country like Egypt, for example. You can't underestimate Senegal, which I think they are the best senior team now, male team now on the continent. So I think it's going to be a tournament that will be difficult for anybody to predict. Even countries like Gambia, they're coming up strongly when it's come to age grade competition. Though they've not been able to transform that into the senior level, but again, you can't really write them off when it comes to age grade competition. They've qualified for under-17 World Cup previously. They've represented Africa previously at that tournament. So it's going to be an unpredictable tournament. But I think Nigeria, knowing what we are, and then the kind of the fighting spirit of Nigerians, the never say die attitude, I think we can actually do it again and then probably win the 8th title.
All right. Yusuf is a TP Nigerian. Other 20 men scored to do better in the AFCON, which will be for next year. So let's get into, outside the country and see what's going on. There were Europa League matches that were played yesterday, and some people sealed their spot at the knockout stage, and some people will be pushed to the Conference League, Confederation League, and we'll see what happens. We saw the results for yesterday. We saw the likes of Arsenal in action with Zurich. It was 1-0 at the end of the match in favor of Arsenal. Bodo Glimt with PSV was 1-2. PSV did better in that match as they picked 3 points. Dynamo Kiev and Fenerbahce, some people saw it as much to look forward to, but at the end of the match it was 2-0 in favor of Fenerbahce. Runs were in action with AEK Larnaca. It was 1-1, it was a draw. Real Betis and HJK Helsinki, it was 3-0 in favor of Real Betis. And then Roma did something to Razgrad yesterday. It was 3-1. And then I think that's some of the two matches we saw rings of goals. It was just 1-2 in other matches. But let's move forward. As we saw Sporting Braga and Malmo, it was 2-1 in favor of Sporting Braga. Union Sand and Union Berlin were in action. Union Berlin had that one there. It was 1-0 in favor of Union Berlin. We also have other teams as well, because we had 16 matches go down yesterday. We saw the likes of Manchester United and Real Sociedad. They were in action yesterday, ended 1-0 in favor of Manchester United. We also have other teams, making up to make it 16 teams that participated yesterday in the Europa League matches. And now we've seen the table. We've seen Manchester United was just looking for a point yesterday to top the group stage, but it didn't work. So now they have progressed to the knockout stage of the Europa League. And then we saw Group F was a very interesting group. We saw the likes of Michelin, Fenerbahce, and there were just 8 points, and then they had to be picked on goal differences. So which of the matches stood out for you yesterday?
Obviously, it's going to be Manchester United and Real Sociedad. These are the two giants from Manchester United from EPL, then Real Sociedad from La Liga, Spain. So there are two giants. So what this is telling us is now that the quality of Europa League has improved to a certain level. If you look at the quality of the teams that we have in that competition, many teams actually have dropped. Barcelona is already here. We have the like of, I don't know whether Juventus is going to make it there. So, but I think the quality has actually improved with what the kind of clubs that we have there now. The competition is going to be very, very stiff. So what United wanted to do yesterday was to get that 2 goals and then probably top the group, but that wasn't happen. That didn't happen. So what they did was to settle for that second place, which I think is not really a bad idea. But then the next features will determine how well they can actually go in the competition. So it's going to be a very, very, very interesting this season. I mean, Europa League, this season, Champions League, even the Conference League. It's going to be very, very interesting this season. And see AS Roma, also the defending champion of the Conference League, coming into the Europa League and also doing so strongly with the Mourinho factor and all of that. So you can't rule it out. So it's going to be a very interesting league. So the focus will not just only be in the Champions League this season. There's varieties for us to look up to.
So what we're saying that now is that, a lot of things are in this Europa League. We probably might see a better view, because Champions League and the view in the Europa League is never the same.
Yes,
I don't know what happens. You have HD, and then when it comes to Europa League, it just changes. And then maybe from the sponsors or the organizers, I don't know, maybe a lot of money is not being pumped into the league as you would do for Champions League.
Yeah, obviously. Champions League is the biggest, club competition in Europe. But again, Europa League is coming up strong. If you watch United and Real Sociedad yesterday, if you see the stadium was fully packed, the atmosphere was electrifying.
It was tense.
Tense as well. So the competition is becoming stiff because of there's a lot of development across club levels. Many clubs are becoming strong. Like in EPL, for example, you have, let's say top 10 clubs, all in competition for who will win the EPL almost every season. So it's going to, and it's becoming like that almost in every other league. So all of them cannot go to Champions League at the same time. So some will have to stay in the Europa League, some in the Conference League as well. So I think the sponsors should probably be looking at the Europa League, because if you look at the pedigree of the game, imagine Cristiano Ronaldo playing in the Europa League, you know.
And not the usual Champions
League that he was used
yes.
to. So I think they need to, the sponsors, need to look at the Europa League and see how they can pump in more money so that we can actually make it more glamorous as the Champions League.
Now we have teams like Barcelona, Juventus, we have Manchester United, we have Arsenal, and a team in the Europa League. AS Roma as well, who used to be a chairman in the Conference League, now part of it. And of course, AS Roma is one strong team that you can always mention when you're talking about strong teams in any of the competition. And now we have them in the Europa League. And a lot of people are saying that, we expect like 4 of these teams, one of them should be the team that will be clinching this trophy at the end of the season. Yeah. Which of them would you root for? Manchester United, Arsenal, Barcelona, or Juventus? Yeah,
obviously, I'll tell you Manchester United.
Oh, I can see. I'm not disputed Manchester United fan, but we saw the likes of Arsenal.
Yeah, but again,
Arsenal has never taken this.
Yes, but again, the competition is very, very stiff. At this point, we're going to the round of 32, so it's difficult for you to predict. So now we'll start making our permutations and predictions when we get to the quarterfinals.
Has it ever worked for Manchester United?
Yeah, we not have won it before.
Yes, so, the permutations now we're talking about. Do you think it's going to work? Yeah,
because United, I think most teams in this competition will want to avoid United right now. Yes, though we may not be playing good. Like yesterday, we didn't play good, but we got the results. You understand? So I think everybody will want to avoid clubs like Manchester United, Barcelona, Arsenal, maybe AS Roma. You understand? So,
but Manchester United cannot escape. From what we're seeing right now, they cannot escape some of these big clubs.
Yeah, I don't think United is afraid of anybody right now.
Okay.
Yes, I don't. If you look at what we've done in the league, most of the times, if you rate our performance against some of the big teams, we play with United. You play better when playing some of the big teams against some of the big teams compared to the the smaller clubs. So I don't think United is a pushover in this competition as it is right now.
All right, just like I think I'll go with the first point where you said no team is a pushover when you talk about football, and that's how we close the program this morning. But remember, you can join us in the evening at 5:30, same station, for comments and more updates. Follow us across all our social media platforms. Thank you very much for being our guest on the show today.
Always a pleasure.
My name is Martia Umar. I'll see you again.